I need a motion for approval from the board to exit executive session and return to open board meeting. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're back in open session. Next item on the agenda is reports. That begins with staff. Dr. Willis.
Board, we have Dr. Willis, and Linda Willis is back with us. She was in the district for how long? About
2 years.
2 years. And she's going to report to the board on a literacy project. I want to see you first.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm really good at reading, so I'm probably going to read a lot of this, but I'll try to look up every now and then and make eye contact. For the last 2 years, I've worked full-time as a literacy consultant in this district. I've worked with virtually every single teacher at every level, and it has been the highlight of my whole career. I've absolutely loved every minute of it. When I first came, things were sort of sort of up in the air because the high school had been identified in PLA status. So I began my work there. But as it evolved, there were some things that really popped out, that really sort of emerged areas that I could provide assistance in. The first one was developing an intervention and an enrichment program for all of the students to participate in at the middle and high school levels. I did not do this alone. This was definitely a collaborative effort with principals, with teachers, with just a whole bunch of people that got together and decided that we really, really needed to do this for our kids. None of those programs were the same. Those of you who know me well, I'm not a program person. I like to have ideas, find research or evidence-based practices that will meet that need, and then go into the classrooms with that, because that, I think, is what works the best. The second thing was working very directly with the English language arts teachers. That, since I'm a literacy person, that makes sense that I would work a lot with them. But I also was able to work with content area teachers, because our standards now, you have to read and write in order to do science. You have to read and write in order to be successful in social studies and math and everything else. And so collaborating with the content area teachers was a very critical piece. And again, very enjoyable. I provided a lot of professional development for the elementary school teachers, particularly at PD. We would meet during our PD days. The teachers would say, we really need some help with this, and so I would work on that and present that, and then follow up in their classrooms and such. And again, just a really, really good experience. I felt like a lot of what I did was analyze data. I've gotten really good at analyzing data. You give me a chart and I can tell you everything you want to know about it. But the analysis I did went beyond what the requirements are from the state. And those are important. I'm not dissing those at all. But oftentimes those don't turn around and inform the instruction that goes on in the classroom. And so what I wanted to do was look at the same numbers and say, okay, what does this really mean? What does this mean in class on Monday morning in 6th grade? What does this mean about how we need to be preparing our students in social studies and sciences? And so a lot of time we spent analyzing data. I'd spent a lot of time at the university doing that, but I can tell you I loved it here because we were asking the right questions. A lot of times data analysis can be a real bore. And it feels like a waste of time. But when you're asking the right questions, it really matters, and you don't mind getting into it. The other things I did were comfort the afflicted. Okay, y'all are supposed to laugh at that part. I tried to inspire people. I tried to listen to people. I tried to challenge people. I gave them deep breathing lessons when they were starting to testing time and they were starting to panic and people were, hyperventilating. And I did a lot of observing. And all of those things, I found remarkable things going on in the classrooms. There are two phrases that I think characterize my work here. And those of you who've worked with me closely or incidentally have probably heard these words come out of my mouth. The first phrase is, it is what it is. Okay? When I began working with this district, actually in 2007, part-time doing professional development for a number of different groups, Marianne was in that and others, I was very much aware that in this district we had amazingly dedicated teachers who were really interested in their students becoming skilled and educated, who wanted them to be good, productive citizens, and wanted them to think critically. But I was also made very much aware that how that was measured was by the test. Now, my professional bias, and I will say that I said this to everybody, and they all rolled their eyes, but they somehow came to grips with it, I guess, is that one test on one day should not be the sign of you being successful or not successful. I cannot buy into that. But it is what it is. We still have to do it. It doesn't matter if I like it. It doesn't matter if all of you don't like it. We still have to do it. So it is what it is. And so in the 2 years I was here, I had to reconcile my own bias and secretly some of your biases with that reality. And I feel like we were able to do that. We acknowledge times that I'm reading now. I should get back to that because otherwise I'll be here a long time. That sometimes what we believe and what is mandated are not in harmony. Sometimes what we believe and what is mandated are not in harmony. So the response, it is what it is, was often the ending to many of our discussions. Okay. So how did we reconcile these differences? I believe we did on many occasions. We addressed both goals. We knew that students needed to be successful in reading, writing, social studies, science, mathematics. And we came up with ways that would help teach them those things that they needed long term. But then we turned around and asked the question, okay, it's going to help us do that, and that's going to help us do well on the test. It's not the test that drives it, it's the long-term goal that we want them to be learners for the rest of their lives. Not just for this year, not for just this 3-hour test. So, you have a right to ask, especially you all. Did they make gains? Did the students make gains? Did it work? Yes, they did. A lot of students made startling gains. It's like, woo, where did that come from? Some of them stayed on pace. They were on grade level, or they were right where they needed to be, and they just kept moving right along, and that is perfectly okay. Some students did lose some ground. We cannot say that they didn't. But I can tell you that every student gained at some level in reading, math, social studies, and science. Especially if you look at cohorts, rather than comparing this year's third graders to last year's third graders. If you follow this year's third graders and then their fourth graders and then their fifth, you see a continuous growth. And that is what you have to celebrate. It's not what our state celebrates. It's not what it is, but it's what it should be. Let me catch up with myself. Feel like I'm preaching. I'm not yet. Okay. When the intentional focus, this I think is really important too. When the intentional focus in our district was on reading and language arts, all of our students did well. Or when it was on just math, all the students did well. But what we've got to come to is a realization we've got to balance it out. We have to have an intentional focus on all of these things, not just one or two, not just where, if the scores take a dip, we don't leave everything else and abandon everything else to bring that up. We've got to keep everything going. And that's a hard job. That's a very hard job. In order for that to occur, I believe that teachers have to be placed in leadership roles. There is no way that a principal or a school board or really fine administrators can manage all of those balls in the air at the same time. And I think that we have to help them become leaders, to make instructional decisions, and to provide leaderships in their schools. Because the truth is, the teachers are the experts. Not me, not an administrator, but the teachers that are in the classrooms are the experts. Another point to keep in mind, and I'm almost done. See, I've only got that one page left. Okay. Y'all take an hour, I can take 20 minutes. Just kidding. I'll be back now. Another thing to keep in mind.
Last time with this one.
I feel the bridge burning behind me. Some gains that students have made cannot be measured. Some students, the gains that they make cannot be measured. We cannot measure motivation. We cannot measure the kid who says, I'm going to keep trying this until I get it right. We cannot measure kids whose lives are so messy, but they say, I'm staying in school. We cannot measure those things. I know individual students who read whole books, and they really enjoyed it. Who would know? But when I got to know them initially, they said they took pride in the fact that they'd never read a whole book. But then things began to change. I know students who stay after school to get tutored in algebra and geometry, and the teacher that tutors them gets paid nothing. And she doesn't care because she really wants those students to succeed. And this leads me to my second and last phrase. All the answers are in this room. All the answers are in this room. And I really, really believe that. Whatever instructional issue there is, whatever content area issue there is, whatever assessment analysis there is, there are equipped teachers and administrators and staff people that can provide the answers for those things. My time here hasn't been spent just addressing immediate needs, like putting out fires. I feel like the bulk of my work has been helping key people become the leaders in this district to carry on things that have begun, things that people are excited about, things that are making a difference in children's learning and children's lives. I feel like I have begun to build an infrastructure of leadership and a way of thinking and asking hard questions that are not popular to continue the work that's begun. I know that some things will go by the wayside, and that's fine. I know that things change and we've got to get rid of some things. But there are also some things that need to stay. And I feel like there are people in place that can carry those things out. You've got to continue on this road to progress, or proficiency as we call it here in Kentucky. It requires the trust of teachers among themselves. It requires the trust of teachers by the administrators and their supervisors. It also requires that there's some flexibility in the administration, both at the school level and at the board level, for teachers to try things that are conceptually sound, but nobody's ever done it before. I think that sometimes you've got to step away from this is the way we've always done it, to try something new and different that might not only engage kids, but engage their teachers. Because it's the teacher that makes the difference in the classroom. Finally, I think you also have to have a gentle accountability. We can't just say, oh, anybody do whatever they want. There has to be a gentle accountability where you just check in and make sure check in on how things are going. One of the most exciting things I see is when I go in classrooms, and teachers go, that's all I need. You know, and I tried this and I tweaked it a little. Tweaking is good. Tweaking is good. I really do believe that there are bright and hopeful days ahead for Martin County Schools. This community, the teachers, the students, the administrators, the staff people that make all of this happen, I think are ready and focused to move ahead. And I am really, really honored to be part of this group of educators. I'm an outsider, but I will always feel like an insider here. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here these last 2 years. Is it moonshine? That was a joke. Sorry. That just burned it
Never, this is just a token from the district for all of the work that you've done. She has been my eyes, ears, hands, legs for the last 2 years, and I, for one, am truly going to miss her. She's been remarkable for our district.
This is all on video, by the way.